Welcome back. Good Monday morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Maria Bartiromo, and it is Monday, May 4th. It is 8 a.m. on the button on the East Coast. Today, President Trump's war on Iran moves from the military to economic warfare. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent with me yesterday. Watch.
3 weeks ago, the president gave the order to Treasury, myself, to begin economic fury. And the way to think about that, we were running a marathon over the past 12 months, and now we are sprinting towards the finish line. And I can tell you that we are suffocating the regime, and they are not able to pay their soldiers. This is a real economic blockade, and it is in all parts of government. All hands on deck. It is the blockade that our great Navy is doing. No ships are getting through, and we have upped the pressure on anyone trying to remit money into Iran to help the IRGC. And they are a corrupt institution. They've been stealing from the Iranian people for years. They have money offshore. We've tracked that down. We will continue to track that down. And we're going to preserve those assets for the Iranian people on the other side of this conflict. It's the Gulf neighbors, who I would describe as somewhat permissive in allowing Iranian IRGC money, Iranian regime money into their banking systems, have been very fulsome and come forward and given us the details and allowed us to freeze those assets. So, the IRGC is watching their stolen assets for years, decades, for 47 years, get frozen and go down the drain very quickly.
And new this morning, the Pentagon is now withdrawing 5,000 troops from Germany's Ramstein air base. President Trump announced the move last week as he puts NATO allies on notice over the alliance's response to helping the U.S. in the Iran conflict. The president also reportedly weighing removing troops from Italy and Spain. The U.S. Defense Manpower Data Center reporting that there are over 16,000 troops stationed in those two countries. Joining me now is U.S. Ambassador to NATO, Matthew Whitaker. Ambassador, great to see you. Thank you so much for being here this morning. How would you assess the state of affairs between the United States and NATO?
Well, we've had better times, no doubt. But, one of the things that I would say is that this alliance is moving towards Europeans taking over the primary responsibility for the conventional defense of the continent. And ultimately, as we work towards that project, there will be ebbs and flows. But, one of the things that I think has a lot of us questioning what's happening is the value that we thought we had here at NATO. Ultimately, when we couldn't use our bases in Spain, the UK, and other places during Epic Fury, that changes the value calculation of the NATO alliance. And so I think there's a lot of us in the Trump administration that are recalculating that value proposition, and I've seen it as I've traveled the world, and I've seen alliances with the United States. And one of the things that I know is that it's a two-way street, that it's not just the United States providing defense and deterrence, that it needs to be our allies that are also stepping up, providing defense and deterrence as well. And again, Epic Fury is a prime example. The United States decided that it was not acceptable to have a nuclear ambitious Iran that was weeks away from being able to have not only one nuclear weapon, but many. And I think President Trump made the right decision to go in and to disable that ambition. But ultimately, our allies, not only did they not offer help, many of them offered nothing but public criticism. And I think that's another thing when you talk about a political and military alliance like NATO, it has to work on both sides. The military relationships, strong, but the political relationships need work. And I think that's what, every day here in Brussels, what I'm working on.
Yeah, and I know that Secretary of State Marco Rubio is headed to Italy later this week to meet with the Pope and Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. The last time I spoke with President Trump, he said, we don't have the same relationship that we did have with Giorgia Meloni in Italy, and we don't have the same relationship that we did have in Spain. Yesterday, however, I did speak with the British ambassador to the United States, Sir Christian Turner, who made the point that, the UK may have had disagreements initially, but where they landed is in a good place. Watch this. What do you think about the relations across the board between the U.S., the U.K., and other NATO allies?
I think the point His Majesty was making is that ours is a relationship of reconciliation, of renewal, and today we have to focus on our hard interests. Britain is the largest investor in 21 states in the US. These military ties, they're important. Britain has been allowing its bases to be used by American aircraft every night, flying out of Fairford in East Anglia. We have been flying our jets in the Middle East as part of this campaign to defend our allies. Over 2,000 sorties by British jets. That's the largest number in 15 years. For NATO, Maria, I think, look, we must remember this is a defensive alliance. The only time Article 5 has been invoked was after 9/11. So we think this alliance as well is enduring and that it matters. And President Trump deserves the credit. You know, he is the one who's been calling on European countries, mine included, to up its defense spending. And I'm pleased to say that's exactly what we're doing.
And you know, Ambassador, this comes after a very friendly week for the UK and the US when His Majesty, the King, Charles III, visited with President Trump.
Yeah, I watched your interview with the ambassador, and I thought you did a great job eliciting some, really tough questions. And that's the right tone. If you think about the tone coming out of Europe right now, Maria, that's the tone that our allies need to strike, a realist view of where we are. First of all, that nuclear ambitious Iran, not acceptable, that they stand ready, willing, and able to provide access, basing, and overflight. It's that value proposition that I mentioned at the beginning of this, that we're looking for our allies to step up. They need to become more capable, which is the whole NATO 3.0 project we're on right now that started with the 5% commitment at The Hague. But ultimately, it is having frigates and submarines and airplanes and F-35s and all the capabilities that are necessary to deter and defend not only the alliance, but our interests. And the United States is looking for strong, capable allies. The UK, again, it's a work in progress. So many of our other allies are work in progress, but there are some that are moving out, and they deserve some credit.
Well, I'll tell you, just yesterday when I spoke with the Treasury Secretary, he used the words, "We are sprinting toward the finish line," as he was talking about the economic warfare that the U.S. is putting on Iran. I mean, the president received another latest proposal to end this conflict over the weekend, but he's rejecting the offer because they refuse to admit that they cannot have a nuclear weapon. The president wrote on Truth Social, they have not yet paid a big enough price for what they have done to humanity. The latest operation in the Strait of Hormuz this morning, Project Freedom, is what the president is calling it. Ambassador, he says this morning the U.S. will work to guide stranded commercial ships through the critical waterway. Around 1,600 ships remain stuck in both sides of the strait. I mean, look, French President Emmanuel Macron said that this morning Europe is building its own security solutions and will not partake in any operations to open the strait under an unclear framework. Ambassador, they need the strait more than the United States does.
And that goes to the unhelpful rhetoric that I mentioned before. Ultimately, NATO, our allies, Europeans need to appreciate that they get a lot more value out of the Strait of Hormuz than the United States does. The United States is obviously trying to take care and has taken care of the Iranian nuclear ambitions, their missile stockpile. But this navigation issue ultimately is going to fall on the entire globe and those that get benefit from the strait, and not just the United States of America. But, one thing I would point out is the Iranians ought not fire on those American ships. That would be a real mistake. And the response from President Trump and our military, who's been performing exceptionally in this duty, would be overwhelming. And so if they want to de-escalate and come up with a diplomatic solution, we're willing to work through that and to make sure that our red lines are not crossed. But if they fire on our ships and our sailors in the strait, that is a bad day for Iran. I will just tell you that.
Yeah. We should point out that earlier Iran state media reported that, but Axios then reported that the U.S. is saying there was no shots fired on any U.S. So I'll tell you, it did cause a spike in oil and a sell-off in stocks, but things have come back to where they were before the misinformation from the Iran state media. But I think there is a little manipulation going on here when you look at the propaganda coming out of Iran and what they're telling their state media to say. And then there's Russia and Ukraine trading strikes over the weekend. Ukraine hitting key Russian oil infrastructure, including 3 oil tankers and a cruise missile carrier and a patrol boat. The Ukrainian Air Force says nearly 270 drones were fired by Russia overnight, with the majority being shot down, Ambassador. So, the U.S. is still in the middle of a war with Iran, but Europe has the Ukraine situation on its back still.
They do. And, the killing must end. President Trump's been very clear about that this war needs to end. It would have never started if he was president in 2021 and 2022. But here we are, with another land war in Europe. And the European allies must take primary responsibility and lead the support on Ukraine. The United States has done a lot. Hundreds of millions of dollars of U.S. taxpayer money under Joe Biden went to Ukraine. And the time now is for European taxpayers to bear that burden, but most importantly, to end this war, to get both sides to come up with a solution that stops the killing. We're in the 5th year of this war, and that's plenty. And, the Russians have not made meaningful gains really in the last several years. They're losing 30 to 35,000 soldiers as casualties every single month. It's brutal. And, I think the United States can't just be the one that is calling for this to end. We need our European allies to also to put pressure to join us in bringing this war to an end. I know, President Trump's doing all he can, but at the same time, we need allies and we need others to join to do more ultimately to end this war.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we'll be watching your work, certainly, Ambassador. It's good to see you this morning. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Maria.
All right, Ambassador Matthew Whitaker. Stay with us. We'll be right back.